Slender Man, the internet's most infamous boogeyman. It's a late autumn night, and a teenager is walking home through the woods after a friend's house party. The wind howls through the trees, and a deep sense of unease settles in as the branches seem to stretch unnaturally in the darkness. She feels watched. No, hunted. Her pace quickens, but the eerie silence around her makes her realize something terrifying. She stops and turns, scanning the woods. Nothing. Then she sees it. A towering figure in a black suit, its face completely blank. The moment her eyes lock onto it, the figure moves, not walking, but shifting, almost glitching through space. She runs, but it doesn't need to chase her. It's already ahead, waiting. The next morning, her parents find her bed empty, her window open, and strange, distorted images on her phone. She's never seen again. Slender Man was originally an internet horror meme, but it took a dark turn into real-life horror in 2014 when two 12-year-old girls lured their friend into the woods and stabbed her 19 times. They later claimed they did it as a sacrifice to Slender Man, believing he was real and would come for them if they didn't obey. The story went from online creepypasta to a national crime case, proving that sometimes fiction bleeds into reality in the most terrifying ways imaginable. Jeff the Killer, the face that haunts your nightmares. A young boy wakes up in the middle of the night, a faint noise disturbing his sleep. His bedroom door is slightly open, and he swears he sees movement in the darkness. His heart pounds. He reaches for his bedside lamp, but before he can turn it on, a voice whispers, "Go to sleep." Paralyzed with fear, he can barely breathe as a pale, disfigured face leans in close, an eerie grin stretching across its deformed mouth. The last thing he sees before losing consciousness is its hollow, soulless eyes staring into his. Jeff the Killer is one of the most infamous creepypastas. The story tells of a bullied teenager who was burned alive only to return as a monstrous serial killer. While the story itself is fictional, many claim the eerie image associated with Jeff, the wide grin, the lidless eyes, is cursed. In some corners of the internet, people report seeing Jeff in their dreams after staring at the image too long. Is it just mass hysteria or something more? Ben Drowned, the haunted video game that knows your name. A college student buys an old Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask cartridge from a garage sale. The label is worn off and the word Ben is scrawled across it in marker. He shrugs it off until he starts playing. At first, everything seems normal, but as he progresses, things start to change. The in-game characters begin addressing him by his real name, despite him never entering it. The music plays in reverse, and the screen glitches with strange, red-tinted images of Link's lifeless face. Then, a chilling message appears on the screen. You shouldn't have done that. The game resets, but something is different now. The NPCs stare blankly at him, whispering things he can't understand. And then, as if the game is watching him, another message appears. Ben is watching. The legend of Ben Drowned spread across the internet, with players claiming that haunted cartridges existed, containing eerie, unexplainable glitches. While the original story is a work of fiction, it taps into a deep fear. What if the technology we use every day isn't just a tool, but a vessel for something watching? In the 1940s, Soviet scientists conducted a brutal experiment on 5 political prisoners, locking them inside a sealed chamber with an experimental stimulant gas to keep them awake for 15 days. For the first few days, the prisoners conversed normally, but by day 5, their behavior grew erratic. By day 7, they stopped speaking entirely. Instead, they whispered incoherently to themselves, clawing at the walls. Then the screaming started. Blood-curdling, inhuman wails filled the chamber, until suddenly there was only silence. When scientists finally opened the door, what they saw made their blood run cold. The prisoners had torn themselves apart. Their fingernails were worn down to the bone. Their eyes were wide, unblinking, locked in an expression of pure madness. One of them, still alive, whispered something before collapsing. "We are awake now. We don't want to sleep anymore." The Russian sleep experiment is widely believed to be a hoax, but it remains one of the most disturbing creepypastas. It plays on fears of human endurance, unethical science, and what lurks in the depths of a sleep-deprived mind. Smile Dog, the image that drives you insane. A man receives an email with no subject line and a single attachment. The file is named Smile ChatTPG. Curious, he opens it. It's an image of a dog, a husky, but with grotesquely human-like teeth, grinning far too wide. Something about the image is wrong. That night, he dreams of the dog. It speaks to him, whispering in a distorted voice, "Spread the word." The next morning, he finds himself unable to think of anything but the image. It's burned into his mind, haunting his every waking moment. When he tries to delete it, his computer freezes. New emails appear, more attachments, more copies of smile.jpg. The nightmares grow worse. He realizes too late, there's only one way to escape it. He has to send the image to someone else. Smile Dog is a modern take on cursed images and chain letter horror. While the original image is fictional, the psychological terror it evokes is very real. The Backrooms, the infinite nightmare of being lost. It starts with a mistake, taking the wrong door, tripping in just the wrong way, and suddenly reality shifts. You find yourself in an endless maze of yellowed, water-stained wallpaper and flickering fluorescent lights. The air is stale, thick with the scent of damp carpet. The hum of the lights drones on endlessly, making your head pound. You walk. There are no exits, no windows, just miles and miles of identical, decaying hallways. And then, just as the unease begins to settle into terror, you hear something behind you. A wet, shuffling sound. A breath that isn't yours. You turn a corner and the Backroom started as an eerie internet post describing a glitch in reality, a place you could no-clip into, slipping out of the real world and into this endless, liminal space. Some claim it's just a fictional horror setting, but others insist they've seen it in dreams, and some say they never woke up. Robert the Doll, the real-life Chucky. In the early 1900s, a young boy named Robert Eugene Otto received a handmade doll from his family servant in Key West, Florida. It was just a doll, stuffed with straw, dressed in a sailor suit, but something about it felt off. Soon after, the Otto family noticed strange occurrences. Objects moved on their own. Eerie giggles echoed through the house at night. Neighbors reported seeing the doll walking past the windows when no one was home. As Robert grew up, he kept the doll locked away in the attic, but visitors claimed they still heard footsteps above. Even now, the doll sits in a museum, locked in a glass case. Those who mock it report terrifying nightmares, car crashes, and misfortunes soon after. The legend of Robert the Doll is real. The cursed doll is still on display at the East Martello Museum in Florida. Visitors are warned, if they want to take a picture, they must ask Robert for permission. Those who don't, well, they tend to regret it.